Welcome to the Laptop and Desktop Workgroup call on the 9th of July 2025. Just a quick housekeeping call for anybody on the call who hasn't been before, but I think the majority of people have been. So this is a reminder. We are recording the session. If you don't want to be recorded, please keep yourself muted, keep your camera off, and you will not be in the recording. In terms of the call rules, we follow the FreeBSD's project's community code of conduct, and the general rule is please let other people finish. If you want to say something while others are speaking, please raise your virtual hand. The only exception to this rule is because of the fact that I'm speaking a lot during these calls. Feel free to interrupt me if you have questions or if you want to interject with a thought or a particular statement that you believe is relevant to what is going on. That is absolutely fine because of the fact that sometimes I might not immediately notice that you have your hand up. So please feel free to interrupt me if you have something to say. Otherwise, there's also the chat. Please feel free to use that. I will do my best to also document that for the sake of eternity later after the call also. And if there's questions, we are obviously going to do our best to follow up for these or on these questions later on as well. For the agenda, we have our usual program. We start with the brief look at the minutes of the last call. The last call was, let's say, deviation from the previous program because we had BSD can running in parallel and the audience was slightly shifted, but the general agenda was overall the same. So it's going to be really just a quick recap of what happened. And with that, we are going to move over to these really quickly. As a matter of fact, I also need to add that I actually need to apologize. I had some technical difficulties and it keeps reappearing, difficult technical issues. But the last time, actually, the recording, the Jitsi recording got screwed up. And I had to fall back to an audio recording that I happened to make, but the audio recording was only recording my own microphone. And that is why the recording on YouTube, unfortunately, does not really is a very good reproduction, but it is the best, let's say, that was possible based on what I had. I apologize for that. This time, recording works. I tested it twice running up to the call, so this should not be repeating this time. So what did we do the last time? The last time we were looking at the governance. Still, this issue has been moved along at least nicely in terms of that we now have a date. Alice and Greg is planning to meet with me to talk about the overlaps in terms of governance. We have a date. I cannot remember now when exactly, but I think it was sometime in July. So with a little bit of luck, next time we will have an update for you on this. I'm aware that this has been work in progress for probably like 3 or 4 months now, but we will get it done. Well, as I said, BSDCan was happening. We only had a recap from Alice, also from the mailing list. The May and April updates were posted on GitHub. We also looked at the roadmap representation that had been updated. There was Christos audio work. He was asking us to help with testing, and the same, we had a call for testing on PKG base that was posted by Joe on the FreeBSD forums. There was also interest in terms of the roadmap for framework, and there was a question in terms of the multi-GPU support. I think we got at least half an answer in this one. There was also a conversation about this on the mailing list, which I want to point out. That was very interesting and enlightening. In terms of the FreeBSD framework, I did what I suggested during the call. I've tried to reach out to the one contact that I know at Framework and asked him about his opinion in terms of the handling of Framework in terms of their CPU and mainboard selections and how they are dealing with that. Unfortunately, I did not hear back, and I need to assume that this is not a topic for public debate, let's say. My personal assumption and interpretation is just like I said in the last call. Basically, the recap is that I believe, just like with all the other manufacturers, we probably have to deal with the situation that Framework is just going to stick with the latest available boards and CPUs because these are the ones that are, well, seeing the most sales, I suppose. And that's basically it. Unless anybody has any additions or remarks, then please jump in. Otherwise, I'm going to move ahead to the usual program. I also want to point out that's also here in the minutes that if you were in the call and feel you should be listed here, then please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to put you in there. Basically, because of the fact that I had a jobbled recording, I was unable to reproduce the participants list. I apologize for that. The action items were, as usual, the looking at the Foundation's project on GitHub. I think we all did that in parallel to also watching the mailing list and the enterprise working group. I just mentioned that we finally have a call date. Yeah. And with that, let's jump right in to the laptop support and usability improvements project. The FreeBSD Foundation. Alice is with us. I saw. Hi, Alice. And I'll hand over to you.
I didn't make it to the last call because of BSD CAN. And I've also been on vacation the last 2 weeks. So I feel like I'm just coming straight back in. Okay, this is the same slide we always have, but it's basically just to share that the Foundation is working on a package of FreeBSD functionality that is specifically focused on laptop use case. That is broadly looking to improve the user experience and reducing barriers to adoption by all types of users, but the first focus is on the developer. As always, we are giving a monthly report. We've now managed to get the turnaround time on reports right down to just about a week, which is much better because I'm really happier that we're getting those reports out just after the month is finished. So this is June's report. Shout out to Tom Jones, who wrote the report this month whilst I was in the south of France enjoying the heat wave. As you can see, we have some really excellent announcements for June. And we are going to, we have Jean-Sebastian. Do we have Jean-Sebastian? I was going to come to him in a minute to ask him to say more about the graphics drivers. But you can see here that we have Linux 6.7 and 6.8 graphics drivers now available. And please go click on these #47 and #49 if you want to check out the details of any of these pieces of work. And there's a sort of comments thread that you can scroll down on as well. Okay, let's hop back then, please. Oh, thank you. All right, so one other interesting piece of work here is the scheduler backlog. Now, that might not be immediately obvious what that is for, but Olivier, who couldn't join us on the call today, has been working to set it up so that laptops can make more differentiated use of different types of cores. So that's what with on that top line it says heterogeneous cores. To make that possible, some work on the scheduler needed to be done. So so that work is now done. It's not maybe something that you'll see the benefit from straight away, but it unlocks the ability to then do the work with the heterogeneous cores.
So that,
and then we've.
Sorry, can I? So this, when we say heterogeneous cores, these are like performance and energy cores, like we see in the 12th gen Intel processors, I suppose, right?
Yes. Right, yeah. Okay. So it at the moment, FreeBSD is treating all those cores as being the same as each other. So there is not as much way of benefiting from having heterogeneous cores. But that's the work that Olivier is doing, is to try and make it possible to get either better efficiency or better economy or better performance with FreeBSD on that type of laptop. Okay, and then so Emmerich has been, who is on the call and we will come to in a minute because I've got some slides specifically for this and for Jean-Sebastian's work, the graphics work. This one is around sleep states that Emmerich's been working on debugging some thing. Sometimes it would wake itself up out of sleep state when we didn't want it to, and it wasn't entirely clear why that was happening. And then when it was clear, it wasn't entirely clear how to fix it, but I'll let Emmerich correct anything I've said and add to it in a few minutes. Then we can see, if you don't mind scrolling down, work continues also with Emmerich on modern standby. Then we've got USB debugging. Then the follow-on work with the heterogeneous cores. Wi-Fi work continues, and you'll be able to read this report. It's publicly available, so do go and dig into some of those things. And then a few updates on some of the other things. We've got some audio, we've got some USB HID peripherals, HDMI support, and so on. I'm trying to keep up the scrolling, Chris. But yes, it's all in there. It's all in there. So take some, if anything in there is of interest to you, take some time to take a look at that. And if you have questions, fire up a mail into the mailing list, the desktop mailing list, which we're using for laptop stuff too.
There we go. And Matthias also wants to say something. Maybe let's quickly let's give Matthias a brief minute to add, please.
Okay. Just wanted to comment on the latest report, which looks like it puts FreeBSD on the desktop by early next year to be, I would say, arguably not only on par, but on a lot of things, especially considering the current trajectory of Linux, probably better off than Linux. And not that I take any joy at that, because I'd love to have a strong Linux for many years, but super happy to see FreeBSD moving so decidedly in that direction. And it's so many different avenues all converging towards this, and basically, from my point of view, at least, every pain point being addressed, and clear and syndicated progress on that. It's really super impressive. So I want to thank everybody for that. And not least those who are leading and providing visibility and transparency in this process. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And I can only underline what you're saying. Thank you to all the developers and people. I mean, even to you guys joining the calls, because at the end of the day, this also very much lives from sharing the results and improving on a regular basis. All right, Jean-Sébastien, you wanna say something about the graphics work?
Correctly? Okay, thanks.
Please. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I was stuck at work and was very late to that meeting.
No problem.
So I wanted to share a quick update on where we are on the road to the goal of having DRM drivers from Linux 6.12. So first, we are done with 6.7 and 6.8. They were merged recently into the DRM Kmod master branch. I'm not sure they are available in the ports tree yet. I didn't verify that, in fact. But yeah, it took a lot of time, mostly because of the reviewing process with the changes made to Linux KPI, because there were a significant amount of changes here and there, some new features added to Linux KPI. But yeah, now that's done. Everything was merged into DRM Kmod master branch, and for Linux KPI into FreeBSD SRC main branch, which will become FreeBSD 15. About the next one, 6.9, the porting is finished. In fact, now it takes about 1 week to port a new version by working during the evenings. But you have to add the changes to Linux KPI on top of that. And for this one, very few changes were required. Most of them were already reviewed and some of them approved. So hopefully we should be able to merge 6.9 in the coming days or weeks. I already had some nice feedback from some testers. We are currently chasing a bug. I don't know exactly where, probably in Linux KPI, that prevents a user from using their graphic cards, Intel One. They say it works on Ubuntu using an older kernel, 6.8. So there is definitely something wrong on our side. This is not a GPU that is supported by a later version. So yeah, I'm in the process of going through the feedback and trying to debug what's wrong. And the last part I wanted to share is about two pull requests that are unrelated to the porting of new versions of the DRM drivers, but they are here to enable features that are required by at least Wayland compositors when the user asks to use Vulkan instead of what's the name of the other API in X11? I don't remember, something based on OpenGL.
Was it Mesa? Sorry, forget about it.
No, I don't remember. But it's not really. It will come back after the meeting probably. But yeah, so those are pull requests that enable some code inside the DRM KMod drivers, code that was commented out so far, and they both need changes to Linux KPI. And the review process didn't really start for the Linux KPI part. So I will need to make some lobbying for that. But yeah, overall, we are making progress, and that's great, I think.
Thank you. Please.
May I ask, that's a question, long-standing question for me, between those different versions, is there something that stands out in terms of what it brings to the table, apart of course from keeping parity, which is super important, but something for the non-technical user in terms that they could recognize?
Most of the interesting bits for users will be support for newer GPUs. That's the main part. They also changes things that are internal to the DRM framework. There are components that are rewritten sometimes or replaced by a new one. So things that are very internal to the way DRM drivers work and in the way they are used by user-owned libraries like Mesa, libdrm. But yeah, usually those are not user-facing changes. There are some optimizations as well, so we could consider them as user-facing because you will, for instance, have a bit more autonomy of your laptop, or things like that. But mostly
Cool.
new GPUs.
I mean, sorry, please go ahead.
No, we're just saying thank you, because it was a long-standing question, that's all.
One side benefit that I noticed also with these improvements, particularly that come along with Linux KPI, is if you're using either Linux jails or try to run Linux-based software through the Linux abstraction layer, or emulation layer, sorry, it's called. Very often, with these later improvements, you can run more modern Linux software, also even based on FreeBSD. So that kind of, as I said, is not really the target work, obviously, but very often this also comes with that.
So Emmerich, I think we do have on the call. Perfect. Are you happy to just take it from here?
Sure, I'll try to be quick though, because I'm on a train. I don't want to bother anyone. But
All right.
So we've figured out the sporadic wakes issue. That's all good. USB 4 dependency, that's working. S0i3 was being entered on 14, not working on current. I rebased it during BSD and it stopped working. So I'm looking into this with AMD, and to do this, we made a sleep testing image, which AMD is using internally, and I kind of want to make it usable for other people so that they can, test it in a controlled environment and report statistics to, tell me what's not working on their specific machine and what's preventing them from entering S0i3. And yeah, that's basically it. So I'm getting there.
Thanks, Emmerich. And did anyone have any questions related to this or any of the other items that we've quickly rushed through?
So this works on 14 stable then, is that right?
It was 14.1. It was just like the local branch I was using for developing.
All right.
But it was definitely not finished. I mean, all the patches now should be based on 15.
All right.
It's just that there's something I changed between 14 and 15, which mean that the CPUs don't want to enter CC6. And that's the thing that I'm looking into right now.
I see that Mark has his hand up.
Yes, Mark.
So is this, have you been testing this on a framework at the moment?
Yeah, specifically on the 704 series, so that's the Phoenix CPUs. It won't work for other ones because the USB 4 drivers are only targeted to that. Yeah, I need to test on other machines, but right now I'm still trying to get it working again on current for the 704 series.
Excellent, good. That's the one I have. So of course that's the only one I care about. Yes, less facetiously, this is something that I would love to see happen sooner rather than later. The laptop story, I think, is fundamentally based around Wi-Fi and power, because if you can't sleep a laptop and you don't have Wi-Fi, then really all you've got is a desktop. And so I think the core parts for the Wi-Fi story are for the laptop story are this and Wi-Fi. Really, I think that's so key to it. So this is something that I'm really excited to see working, so that I can work on the good messaging and the YouTube and blog type stuff. In terms of this sort of thing, and blockers for you, Emmerich, are there things that get in your way? That's another way of me saying, is there anything that I can do to help you? Is there anything that I can do to help you from within the foundation for this?
I mean, currently we're just trying to get it working again, but once it's working again, it will probably be fine. The other big thing that we need to fix is USB 4, which connects quite often. But that, I mean, hopefully I'll fix most of this during the hackathon in Berlin this weekend. And then, yeah, I guess the rest will just be testing on different laptops, but it's pretty much done. There's really just debugging why we can't get into CC6. That's the big thing, but there's no real blocker for that. That's just, at some point we'll realize what we're doing wrong. We'll figure it
out. So you're going to be in Berlin this weekend?
Yes, I will be.
Excellent. I'm coming over for my first hackathon and my first BSD event, so I will be there too. So we'll get to have a chat at the weekend.
Okay, awesome. I'll see you there, Mark.
Brilliant, good stuff. Thanks.
Okay.
Cool. Anyone else have questions? Comments? All right. Well, thanks to all the folks that have been working on this stuff here. I can see it, quite a few of us present on this call today. Just wanted to give a shout out for all the great work that's been going on, and really good to see a lot of it landing. So this is the same slide that we normally have. It's just places that you might want to visit, project roadmap, work in progress, etc. And you can certainly, you normally share this slide deck, don't you, Chris? So people can access these.
Yes, absolutely.
Links. And I noticed that Mark Peake had already shared the link to the monthly update. So thank you, Mark, for sharing that. You can click on that. It's in the chat for this call. I think that might be everything from us, Chris.
Yes. Thank you. Reese, please.
Thank you for the invite. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hopefully I can make the next one. I've got an older laptop, a Lenovo P52S. So if you need anything with that, I'll just be monitoring the mailing list and trying to help out where I can. I'm not much of a coder, but I'm excited to see you guys doing this project, and hopefully I can meet you guys at a BSD event one day when I can get some coin. But it's nice to meet everybody, and I hope everybody has a good day and stay hydrated. We'll talk to y'all later.
Thanks. And with that, basically, we're right in the question of the worksheet. We have let's move over here really quickly. We have this worksheet that basically lists the various items of interest, as I usually call them, because they're not really action items or action areas. They're just, these were the items that we identified through our initial survey as relevant to the community in terms of laptop and desktop use. And if anybody's interested, then either please feel free to pick it up or participate, or if you realize something is missing because maybe you're already working on a project that has some relevance or value to this endeavor, then please feel free to put down your particular project and your name so we can gain some visibility and see what's going on and add any relevant calls for action if you're, I don't know, looking for support, looking for people to help out or participate. This is a good place to basically indicate that and keep track of things. And I see so far at the moment, basically, in terms of documentation, the only major progress that we're seeing here is, and the one continuously we are seeing is obviously one from the FreeBSD Foundation. If there's anybody else who wants to add or say something, then please feel free to do so. Yes. Please. Alex, yes. Welcome back.
Thank you. So I haven't made any progress on this X11 handbook chapter that I shared with everyone previously. It is under reviewed. I'm going to commit it anyway.
All right.
I would really appreciate if anybody has some time to go and look at that. It's at least not worse than it is now. Like, there are some things that were so out of date that they were like a foot gun, and then I couldn't explain to users, like, no, you don't want to do that. That was written 20 years ago. And they're like, yeah, but it works. Like, okay, fine. So I'm going to commit that in sometime this week if I don't hear anything back. But it needs a lot of work. People could come and help, and that would be really great. But my thinking is just that if someone currently wants to work on the chapter, if I've got like a refactoring of the whole chapter, it's like obstructing them from doing that. Yeah, that's all.
Well, I can say from my side, I did look at the PDF because I did read that, but I didn't really have any particular remarks. The question is, if people agree, do you want them to reach out as well, or is it just if people stay silent on the matter, it's agreement?
I really prefer,
Some
you
words of
know, like all
encouragement, probably. Sorry.
well, it's like, you know, for me, like there'll be like a review that goes by that involves manuals,
Mhm.
and it'll be like between like members of Source MGR or like extremely senior people, you know what I mean, that like they don't need like my input. But I did do the work of reading it.
Mhm.
And I'm doing so mostly actually for my own curiosity and learning, but that was a valid effort that I put in, a serious engagement, and it's an additional data point for these guys, and they don't have to take my approval as counted as worth anything. I mean, at this time, people have welcomed me, and it seems like they do, but you know what I mean? Like, they don't have to take that as that. Like, people will approve it, and it's like, maybe I don't know that person, or like, maybe they haven't earned my respect yet or something, and like, so I'm not gonna like take that as like, okay, this is definitely good to go because it's cleared with them, you know what I mean? And so I kind of, yeah, I would appreciate like if somebody reads it and they think it's fine to approve it, and then that at least, I mean, that's work, that's sincere work. If somebody reviews it, we should have a record of that, because that's sincere contribution.
That is a very good point. Yeah, I mean, I can say only from my own personal point of view. I think all the, relevant critical points that you need to get things started are in there. Fonts, X input, stuff like that. I mean, you covered everything in my opinion. And in terms of documentation, I mean, I'm not completely sure. Do you have that on Fabricator as well in terms of documentation, or is an email just fine and good for you? How would you prefer to get feedback?
So on my people.freebsd.org,
Right.
any drafts that I think might be controversial, I put a rendered to PDF, and then I put in parentheses feedback next to it, and that's a link to the Fabricator review.
Right.
And
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty diligent about the janitorial work on there, because that's just a really helpful thing for me, to be able to go and like solicit feedback from people who don't use Fabricator. The main thing that it's really missing, right, and we've struggled with this extensively. So I put it in the package man page, package.conf man page, which is kind of a silly place, but it was like the most sensible place I could think of. Users will not understand the nuance of like, hey, look at the package for the graphics driver and make sure that it's, if you're running 14.3, it needs to say 14.000.300 or something. If it says 14, but it's 2 in there, then you're not going to be happy. And you need to do some adjusting. So I have not figured out how to write that in there. Because, it's like we need to explain stuff so that it's somewhat simple, right? Like, you can always explain anything, but if you make it seem overcomplicated, people are going to look at it and they're going to think that this is not the thing. So that's sometimes I struggle for a long time with how to write stuff in a simple way so it doesn't make the doc look bad.
So this is the usual minor upgrade problem, right? Where the package is not really aligned with the latest kernel version, I suppose. This kind of problem where you have to go to the source and then compile it from ports.
Well, we have, as Matthias just said, we have the Kmods repo, but the problem is that that's not all automatic, right? Like, maybe the user needs to package upgrade -f. There's like, it still bites people. There's various contexts. I haven't figured out all the nuance of everything, but there are various contexts where it does bite people, and then they complain.
Right. That's actually a very good point, because sometimes you might get X to work, but other software like Qt based applications, I've had it where there were libraries broken, and then just like you said, you had pkg update -f, and you had to reinstall everything, and then it worked again. But yeah, that is very hard to put in a in documentation for people to understand, particularly if they're new to FreeBSD. I completely relate. Lars, yes, please. Okay, maybe in the meantime, while Lars figures out his audio, Alice, you've got your hand up as well. Alice?
Yeah, I was looking at the looking again, sorry, at the spreadsheet, and I'm thinking that some of the line items do relate to some of the work that is in the project that the foundation is.
That is a very good point. Yeah, we can clean that up, I guess.
Yeah, I was wondering whether it would be helpful for us to maybe add, figure out a way of either cleaning it up or just indicating, like maybe add a column which says, is this part of the project? And if so, like link to the issue that it's part of, because obviously the project has limited scope. So to solve, some of them have got quite broad descriptions, and the project isn't, our project isn't going to necessarily get it to the fully end state, but it might just be like a partial fix or like a partial scope delivery. So maybe if I take an action, I can go and like see if there's something I can do to make it clearer that some of these things are being worked on as part of our project, but it might not be entirely clear.
Yes, I mean, we can, I don't know, add a column where we link back to the particular.
That's what I'm thinking.
scope,
Yeah, I might try it. I'll take a look and see what looks like a good solution.
Right. That's definitely appreciated. All right. Maybe, Lars, if you have a question, maybe if you want to post it to the chat, then maybe we can, or if you want to remark something, feel free to post it to the chat and we'll voice it out for you if that helps. Yeah, I've I've had that happen to me as well. So no pressure. If you want to say something or ask a question, please feel free to use the chat and we'll voice it out. There's the installer is being worked on. I recently saw. So that's also going on, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think in the Kitchener hackathon there was some focus on the installer, and I know it came up in the MBSD can about it being one of the things that is the focus for 15.0.
There's even a combined one, basically the installer, the Wi-Fi selection installer, where people say it's too small. We have big Wi-Fi names. Right.
Yeah, there's definitely some things in there that could be consolidated or at least annotated.
All right. Oh, Lars sent a document to Alex, and Alex acknowledged that. All right. Okay, perfect. Got it. Looking forward to our next poll. And I didn't update again. I keep making the same mistake, but at least the date is there. Because July 9 is actually today. So this is not the next call, obviously. I'm just trying and testing if everyone's still awake. Our next call is going to be on August 13. Time is exactly the same, 5 p.m. UTC. I highly recommend subscribing to our Google Calendar, where you have the relevant dates always available with the right time zone for your particular setting and preference. And we will post the recording, the slides, the minutes, and the chat log after the call. In the meantime, if you have questions, if you have statements that you or knowledge that you want to share, obviously, please do so. There's also the mailing list. I want to point out the desktop mailing list that we're using, which I will pull up really quickly under lists.freebsd.org. There is a great directory of the various mailing lists, and here is the desktop one, and here you can also find the archive. There's actually a new look and feel. This has been overhauled, I think. Looks much nicer, and here you can see all the communication, all the conversations going on, and this is also the canonical way. Please, Alice, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand, this is also the canonical way to give feedback and inputs on the various items that are on the FreeBSD Foundation's project and the various task items that are happening around GitHub, because the GitHub tasks and activities are not open for comments and debate because of the fact, and I think this really makes sense. It was actually recently mentioned on a mailing list. We prefer, well, I think it is, the project prefers to keep the communication on the project's usual communications paths, and the mailing lists, and the mailing list is one of those.
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense, to keep things in one place and not spread things out across all sorts of other sectors. So this, I would argue, makes very much sense.
Yeah, and if you would be so kind as to go to the previous month, June, and then one of the very last ones by date, if it's in date order. Yeah, it's the last one. Yeah, no, the very last. If you look at the very last one in the list, it says Project Laptop issues 27 remains an issue. Actually, that was a pretty nice way to do it, I thought, because it basically named an issue but brought the conversation into the mailing list, so it was pretty easy for anyone to know which issue was being talked about. So yeah, I would encourage anyone to use that approach just to help really clarify like what the conversation's about. If it's about a specific issue, if it's not about a specific issue and it's just general, then do as you see fit.
That's great. Okay, actually, I'm gonna because I just was reminded of something we mentioned, that I think it's Olivier who's working on this power savings and power handling of various cores, right? I just remembered something. I used to have an Intel 12th gen CPU, and back in that time when I had that, I was also looking at ways on how to do power savings or how to improve the power savings. I will post that as a follow-up question to the mailing list, because I don't want to spend too much time on that. But I remember I was using CPU set to do something to basically limit the workloads to the energy cores when I was running a battery. I'm curious whether that is still something that might be useful, or whether that's going to be obsolete eventually with the recent work that is being completed. But okay, sorry for the off-topic remark.
No, well,
that's how my brain works.
You can send a mail to the desktop list.
Yes, I will. That's my plan. I will put that with the link, and I will. I was just figuring, okay, since that just kind of popped to my mind, I will post a link there for anybody who's still got an Intel-based CPU. Maybe there's something in there that might be useful, because this really helped me, and this was work collected over, I don't know, many months, where the USB ports are being turned off, the CPU is really throttled, and basically all the workload goes to the energy cores. And yeah, worked great back on my Intel as long as it lived. But yeah. All right. With that, thank you very much. I think we're at the end of it, unless anybody has anything else to share or say or ask. Thank you very much. As I said before, I will post the minutes, the chat log, and everything. All right, guys, thank you very much.